Hi there, this is Dr. John Whitcomb with Lectin lesson number 3, How Lectins Make You Fat. I'm reviewing Dr. Gundry's book, The Plant Paradox, and there's a really interesting key idea here about lectins. And we start by noticing that Dr. Gundry quotes in the book that as humans moved from being hunter-gatherers to farmers, they lost a fair amount of height and brain size. So civilization didn't have its advantages. In fact, it seemed to be like we were getting sick. Well, what was the advantage then? Why would we want to eat the grains we had learned to domesticate, notably wheat and lentils in the Fertile Crescent and what's Iraq and Syria? And Dr. Gundry's insight is very interesting. We didn't domesticate wheat so that we could store it and make it through the winter. We domesticated wheat because it was the grain that made us fattest, fastest. That's a different way of looking at it. It was a useful grain because it made us put on weight. Now, if you come to the modern era and think about it, same thing for cows and pigs and all our animals today. You can't find a cow that's gone to market that hasn't been finished off on grains because it makes it fat. Cows eating grass don't get fat. Natural cows aren't fat. But nobody wants to buy a steak that doesn't have fat on it. And nobody wants to buy a pig that doesn't have bacon. So the same thing happens to our domesticated animals. We make them fat. And so the reason for grains makes you fat faster. Well, how does that make you fat? Well, it turns out that lectins act like your natural proteins, but they do it differently. Inside of you, the lectin actually does some interesting paradoxical functions, and some of them set off here what we call toll-like proteins, and Dr. Gundry calls tiny little radars, or I would call barcode readers, lining all your blood vessels, watching to see what's passing through your blood vessels if it's part of you or a foreigner. Those toll-like receptors identify lectins and get attached to lectins, and the problem is they get different messages on different cells. On fat cells, the lectins attach and stay stuck forever, telling them to get fatter, 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 turning on insulin production. But muscle cells and brain cells don't really do that. They end up saying, we're not going to take up any insulin, but because the lectins don't let go, those cells get avoided and lost. And the net effect is you're saving energy to go to your immune system so you can fight the invading army. Except that it's just a protein and not an actual infection. So your body's being tricked. So you're shifting energy away from your natural metabolism, your brains, nerves, muscles, and into fat tissue and storage. And your immune system that doesn't need it. So you set off inflammation you didn't need, and you're activating your immune system you don't want, all because of a dysfunctional set of lectins. So what's really going on is you are having a war going on inside your body. And that war is your natural signaling messages called your tiny little radars, your toll receptor proteins, calling out the troops to come and fight the battle. So you got fat not because you are a pig and overeating and lazy. You got fat because there is a war going on inside you. And that war is a cytokine war of chemicals set off by lectins that simply don't let go. They don't stop. So how do you stop the war? It's easy. Stop activating the wire message. Stop eating lectins. And when you do that, then your body can calm its immune system down, and you will let go eventually of those signaling messages on your fat cells and nerve cells. Start eating healthier foods that are lectin-free, and watch yourself be able to lose weight. What will work for me? Well, I really believe this message, and I think we need to figure out how to implement it. You don't feel it in the short term, but I want to start thinking about how can I add this to my own personal lifestyle. So what are the foods I can eat that are lectin-free? You'll find those on Dr. Gundry's website, and lots of sites now are picking up and getting the hang of it. This is Dr. John Whitcomb finishing up Lectin lesson number 3, How Lectins Make Us Fat.